Sometimes when people think of Hollywood, they imagine scandals and never-ending competition. Yet beneath the glamour and occasional controversy, there are shining examples of stars who remain genuinely kind, humble, and respectful toward others. Here are 20 such legends whose real-life warmth match their on-screen charisma. Enjoy and stick around for a quick call to action at the end. James Stewart was far more than just the affable leading man of classics, like It's a Wonderful Life and Rear Window. Born in 1908 in Indiana, Pennsylvania, he carried a small-town sensibility into the bright lights of Hollywood. While he eventually became one of the industry's most bankable stars, Stewart's generosity and modesty defined his off-screen persona. Colleagues often remarked that speaking with him felt like chatting with an old friend, one who genuinely listened and never put on airs. Part of that came from his upbringing. Stewart's father instilled in him a strong sense of duty, humility, and empathy. Even as Stewart's fame soared, he refused to see himself as superior. Whether it was a newcomer on set or a longtime stagehand, he treated everyone equally. Co-workers recalled that he consistently offered words of gratitude at the end of each shoot day, acknowledging everyone's contributions. This supportive spirit went beyond the confines of the studio. When World War II erupted, Stewart chose to serve his country. He enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps and eventually piloted numerous combat missions over Europe, an experience that shaped his perspective. Instead of boasting, he returned home more grounded than ever, determined to use his celebrity to help veterans organizations and other charitable endeavors. Friends noted he never viewed his military service as a badge to brandish, but rather as a responsibility he had to fulfill. Audrey Hepburn personified elegance in films like Roman Holiday and Breakfast at Tiffany's. Yet the essence of who she was went far beyond the silver screen. Born in 1929 in Brussels, Belgium, she experienced the hardships of World War II firsthand. These struggles shaped her outlook on life, fueling a profound empathy for others, especially children. That empathy crystallized when she became a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. Hepburn's charitable efforts were anything but superficial. She ventured to remote, war-torn regions, sacrificing personal comfort to witness the plight of children who lacked food, clean water, and basic health care. On these trips, she didn't hover in VIP rooms or rely on staff to do the heavy lifting. Instead, she knelt beside families in need, speaking gently to frightened kids and listening to their stories. Observers recall how her eyes lit up at even the slightest chance to offer hope or relief. Behind the scenes in Hollywood, Hepburn's demeanor was just as gentle. Whether she was on a film set or at a glamorous award ceremony, she treated everyone, from the most accomplished director to the most junior crew member, as equals. Cast members spoke fondly of how she offered compliments, asked about people's families, and remembered small details that made them feel seen. Even her fashion choices, often lauded by critics, reflected a simplicity and grace that eschewed pretension. Gregory Peck stood tall not only in physical stature, but in moral conviction. Renowned for roles like Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird and Joe Bradley in Roman Holiday, Peck off-screen was as principled and courteous as the characters he often portrayed. Born in 1916 in La Jolla, California, he carried a sense of dignity that permeated everything he did, whether delivering an impassioned speech at an award ceremony or quietly helping friends in need. His colleagues routinely commented on Peck's respectful approach to everyone, from big-name co-stars to the most junior technicians on set. Legend has it that he would pause filming to resolve scheduling mishaps or equipment issues, a rarity among top-billed actors of his time. He even made it a habit to learn the names of nearly all the crew members, greeting them each morning with a polite nod or handshake. Peck's interest in social justice issues also set him apart. During the height of his career, he used his fame to advocate for civil rights and nuclear disarmament. He believed that with privilege came responsibility, so he donated time and money to causes like the American Cancer Society and the Motion Picture and Television Fund. Even at his busiest, Peck found windows in his schedule to speak publicly about the importance of equality and peace, often traveling long distances just to address gatherings of concerned citizens. Fred Astaire's name is practically synonymous with elegance in dance and film. From his show-stopping sequences with Ginger Rogers to his later collaborations in musicals like Easter Parade, he became a paragon of grace. Yet Astaire's refinement went beyond the stage. Those who met him described an affable, caring individual who never let stardom cloud his judgment of others. Born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1899, Astaire began his career in vaudeville alongside his sister. His trajectory soared when he reached Hollywood, but he maintained a humble perspective. Even after achieving A-list status, Astaire was notorious for staying out of the tabloids. Instead, he poured his energy into rehearsals, ensuring each routine was polished to perfection. Dance partners often spoke about how he made them feel safe, especially when performing difficult or risky steps. If a partner felt insecure, Astaire patiently walked through the choreography, sometimes late into the night, until they found a shared rhythm. His humility also resonated off-set. Astaire typically refused lavish dressing rooms and requested simple accommodations, redirecting studio perks to support behind-the-scenes staff. He'd regularly drop by the costume department to thank seamstresses and tailors for making him look dapper on camera. In an industry brimming with oversized egos, his preference for collaboration over competition was a breath of fresh air. Cary Grant's charismatic screen presence in films like North by Northwest and Bringing Up Baby established him as one of Hollywood's finest leading men. Yet the aura surrounding him was more than just good looks and impeccable comedic timing. Born Archibald Leach in Bristol, England in 1904, Grant knew early hardship. He emigrated to the U.S. with little more than a dream, which made him acutely aware of how tough show business could be. That background shaped a grounded, empathetic individual who never forgot his beginnings. Colleagues often praised Grant's easygoing demeanor on set. He'd share jokes with the crew, politely greet extras by name, and help younger actors run lines. Stories abound of him discreetly offering financial assistance to those in dire straits, recalling his own lean years when a small sum could mean the difference between eating a meal and going hungry. Despite ascending to international fame, Grant avoided Hollywood's glitziest social circles. He favored low-key evenings, preferring intellectual conversation or quiet strolls to extravagant parties. Friends described him as uncommonly observant. He remembered birthdays, asked about families, and followed up on personal dilemmas. This attentiveness extended to fans, too. If approached for an autograph, he signed with genuine warmth instead of treating them like an intrusion. Julie Andrews captured global affection with her luminous roles in Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music. Born in 1935 in Walton-on-Thames, England, she started performing young, thanks to a remarkable singing range. Her journey to Hollywood stardom was swift, but she never lost the warmth that endeared her to so many. Fans marveled at her crystal-clear voice, but colleagues were equally moved by her gentle spirit and generosity. One hallmark of Andrews' reputation was her behind-the-scenes kindness. On movie sets, she greeted everyone by name, from the top-billed co-stars to the lighting grips. Crew members recall that she asked about their families and health, often following up on personal struggles they'd shared. This level of care helped establish a cooperative environment, crucial for the high-pressure world of filming big musical numbers. Despite facing setbacks, most notably the surgery in 1997 that severely damaged her singing voice, Andrews maintained remarkable poise. She reinvented herself through writing children's books and taking on more acting roles that didn't require vocal strain. Rather than dwell on misfortune, she embraced the chance to explore new facets of her creative abilities. This resilience inspired younger performers who saw in Andrews a model for how to adapt gracefully when life circumstances change. Kaye was the quintessential entertainer, singer, dancer, actor, and comedian all rolled into one. Born David Daniel Kaminsky in Brooklyn, New York in 1911, he found his footing in the Catskills before transitioning to Broadway and eventually Hollywood. With roles in films like White Christmas and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, Kaye generated laughter and awe around the globe. Yet behind the effortless showmanship stood a compassionate individual deeply invested in making the world a better place. Kaye's philanthropic journey began in earnest when he became UNICEF's first Goodwill Ambassador in 1954. He didn't simply wear the title, he traveled to remote regions, sometimes under dangerous conditions, to bring attention to children's health and education. Observers recall how Kaye would serenade kids in refugee camps, using his comedic flair to ease tensions and create genuine connections. This hands-on approach to charity wasn't fleeting publicity. It was integral to his life's mission. Back on Hollywood sets, Kaye's comedic timing and warmth boosted morale. Co-stars spoke fondly of how he diffused stress with spontaneous gags, encouraging everyone to have fun even when grueling shoots ran late. He'd take younger actors under his wing, offering them encouragement and insider tips. Kaye believed that the best way to thrive was to help others thrive alongside you, a stance that distinguished him in an industry often marked by rivalry. Henry Fonda epitomized a quiet dignity both on and off the screen. Born in 1905 in Grand Island, Nebraska, he initially studied journalism before turning to theater. This background lent a certain seriousness to his performances. Memorable turns in The Grapes of Wrath, 12 Angry Men, and Mr. Roberts showcased a steadfast moral compass. Offset, Fonda's approach to life mirrored that same calm, principled demeanor. Colleagues recall how he treated production assistants and co-stars alike with unvarying respect. If a camera operator or stagehand needed extra time to adjust a shot, Fonda never complained or asserted a star's privilege. Instead, he'd patiently wait, perhaps diving into a conversation about current events or classical literature, topics he found fascinating. This calm presence had a way of diffusing tensions on set, leading producers to cast him in roles that required both gravitas and empathy. Fonda's compassion extended into social and political realms. He was vocal in his support of free speech, civil liberties, and anti-war movements. While he never sought to overshadow others with grandstanding, he quietly partnered with charitable groups, directing resources toward causes like veterans' welfare and environmental stewardship. And though he rarely made a spectacle of it, Fonda was known to sign anonymous checks for community-based organizations, believing the real measure of generosity was in the act, not the recognition. Jean Arthur was the quintessential girl next door of the 1930s and 1940s cinema, lighting up classics like Mr. Deeds Goes to Town and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, with a voice as distinctive as her warm smile. Born in 1900 in Plattsburgh, New York, she spent her early years in a series of odd jobs before finding her calling in acting. Despite her rise to fame, Arthur maintained an aversion to the limelight, leading many to describe her as refreshingly private in an industry fixated on celebrity. That shyness translated into a humility rarely seen among leading ladies. She detested lavish premieres and publicity stunts, preferring to slip quietly onto a set, deliver a riveting performance, and vanish before reporters could swarm. Crew members spoke of how her modesty extended into everyday interactions. She never demanded star treatment or special accommodations. Instead, Arthur frequently expressed gratitude for the entire team's contributions, from costume designers to grip operators. Her kindness was equally evident. If a younger actress struggled, Arthur discreetly offered pointers. Never patronizing, always encouraging. She recalled her own rocky start in Hollywood, empathizing with the stress of auditions and the fear of rejection. Many novices credited her with guiding them toward more confident performances. Even major co-stars noted that she possessed a remarkable ability to bring out the best in their scenes together, forging authentic chemistry grounded in mutual respect. Paul Newman exuded cool confidence in iconic roles like Cool Hand Luke in The Hustler, but he was so much more than just a charismatic movie star. Born in 1925 in Shaker Heights, Ohio, Newman navigated Hollywood without letting its glittery trappings corrupt his genuine nature. Whether he was filming adrenaline-pumping racing scenes or stepping onto the red carpet, he never lost sight of who he was. As a person, Newman was approachable and unpretentious. Colleagues describe him as the kind of man who would pass out cups of coffee to extras in between takes or chat with the catering staff about their families. It didn't matter if you were a high-powered producer or a newly hired intern. He treated everyone with kindness and a sense of equality. This respect was reciprocated, earning him a revered status in an industry sometimes notorious for ego clashes. Yet Newman's philanthropic endeavors truly set him apart. In 1982, he founded Newman's Own, a food company where 100% of after-tax profits go to charitable causes. That altruistic approach didn't begin and end with a brand label. Newman himself was deeply involved in deciding which organizations to support, frequently focusing on children's programs and medical research. Through Newman's Own, he donated hundreds of millions of dollars, a fact that astonished many who assumed Hollywood stars rarely gave back so generously. Gene Kelly's boundless energy and dazzling dance moves in St. John in the Rain, and An American in Paris captured the world's imagination. Born in 1912 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kelly dreamed early of melding classical ballet with the unbridled spirit of American tap. His success soared, yet he never assumed the aloof demeanor sometimes associated with big-name stars. Instead, Kelly believed that collaboration was the secret sauce of great musicals, and he proved it through his supportive interactions with co-stars. Many who worked alongside Kelly say he was the ultimate mentor. If a fellow performer struggled with choreography, he'd gently break down each step until they felt comfortable. He also encouraged improvisation, urging dancers to inject personal flair into routines. This approach turned nerve-wracking rehearsals into joyful learning experiences. Crew members lauded him for maintaining a positive set atmosphere, even under tight deadlines or budget crunches. Kelly's kindness extended to personal relationships off the dance floor. He was known to quietly cover medical expenses for old friends who had fallen on hard times, requesting that they keep his generosity private. In an era where many stars reveled in the glamour of publicized charity, Kelly preferred anonymity, viewing kindness as a moral duty rather than a publicity angle. Bing Crosby's mellifluous crooning in songs like White Christmas enchanted millions, catapulting him to superstar status in both music and film. Born Harry Lillis Crosby Jr. in Tacoma, Washington, in 1903, He emerged in the 1920s as a smooth-voiced singer whose laid-back style stood out against more formal, operatic voices of the era. Yet beyond the microphone, Crosby revealed a down-to-earth kindness that colleagues and fans alike admired. On film sets such as those for Going My Way or The Road to comedies with Bob Hope, Crosby displayed a congenial spirit. He joked around with technicians, praised costume designers, and shared stories from his youth with aspiring performers. When newcomers felt intimidated by the magnitude of a Hollywood production, Crosby reassured them with a smile, and sometimes even a spontaneous duet to lighten the mood. His benevolence extended off camera as well. During World War II, Crosby performed in numerous USO tours, traveling to remote military bases to sing for troops. Soldiers described how his warmth felt like a piece of home, brightening long, difficult deployments. Back in the States, he quietly donated funds to help veterans reintegrate into civilian life. While he rarely advertised these gestures, word spread among the community, cementing his reputation as someone who cared about the human side of stardom. Deborah Kerr radiated a dignified serenity throughout a string of memorable roles. In The King and I, An Affair to Remember, and From Here to Eternity. Born in Scotland in 1921, she was poised, soft-spoken, and possessed an acting range that could bring depth to a variety of genres. Colleagues, however, discovered that her grace transcended the screen. She was one of those rare stars whose genuine goodness seemed to permeate everything she did. Kerr's work ethic was legendary. On set, she arrived early to rehearse lines or discuss character motivations with the director, yet she was never impatient when others struggled. In fact, she had a knack for subtly uplifting fellow actors who lacked confidence. Younger performers credited her with giving them that extra spark of courage needed to excel in emotionally demanding scenes. Crew members, too, appreciated her readiness to share a kind word or a warm smile in passing. Despite her success, Kerr avoided the vanity traps that often snare Hollywood luminaries. For instance, she was known to attend cast parties armed with heartfelt compliments, deflecting any praise about her own achievements. When asked how she maintained such humility, she'd often laugh and say she owed it to her upbringing. Her Scottish family instilled in her a sense of courtesy and modesty that no level of stardom could erode. Clark Gable, often hailed as the king of Hollywood, gained immortal status through iconic roles like Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind. Born in 1901 in Ohio, he endured a tough upbringing that taught him self-reliance. Yet instead of allowing hardship to harden him, Gable developed a sturdy brand of compassion and decency that remained intact even after fame came calling. On set, crew members were sometimes awestruck by his larger-than-life persona, but once they interacted with him, they discovered a man who detested elitism. Gable greeted lighting technicians with the same warmth he extended to directors, never neglecting to share a cup of coffee or a quick chat. He often said that everyone, from the script supervisor to the leading ladies, formed a vital part of a film's success. It was this attitude that made him a favorite colleague. Early in his career, Gable received help from established performers who recognized his raw potential. He vowed to pay it forward. Years later, when he became one of the industry's top earners, he offered mentorship and even financial backing to newer actors who couldn't afford lessons or living expenses in pricey Los Angeles. To Gable, there was no shame in acknowledging that show business could be brutal, and he had the means to soften the blow for others. Jimmy Durante, known affectionately as the Great Schnozzola, was a multifaceted performer whose gravelly voice, comedic timing, and signature songs like Inca Dinka Doo won hearts across America. Born in 1893 in New York's Lower East Side, he emerged from humble beginnings to become a vaudeville staple, and later a film and television star. Yet no matter how bright the spotlight shone, Durante kept his feet on the ground, guided by a massive heart. Throughout his career, Durante's comedic gifts were matched by a profound compassion for those less fortunate. He poured himself into visiting children's hospitals, where his jokes and tunes created a momentary escape for young patients grappling with serious illnesses. Parents spoke of his ability to connect with children one-on-one, offering not just laughter, but genuine reassurance. This sense of heartfelt service extended beyond formal charity work. Durante was known to help out neighbors and acquaintances, personally delivering groceries or paying off bills when times were tough. His generosity carried into professional spaces too. Coworkers fondly recall that Durante would give up part of his paycheck if a show was in danger of folding, or if a fellow performer was in dire financial straits. Rather than make a spectacle of it, he insisted on secrecy. He wanted no fanfare, just solutions. Younger entertainers saw in him a mentor willing to share comedic techniques and stage tricks without any hint of competitiveness. Ingrid Bergman's luminous performances in Casablanca, Notorious and Gaslight, made her an international sensation. Born in 1915 in Stockholm, Sweden, Bergman initially grappled with a language barrier when she landed in Hollywood, but her gracious spirit quickly broke down cultural walls. A dedicated craftswoman, she valued rehearsal and precision, yet balanced her pursuit of excellence with a conspicuous warmth that extended to all cast and crew. On film sets, Bergman's approach was to learn everyone's role, not just her own. She'd chat with costume designers about fabric choices, ask gaffers how they managed lighting angles, and engage script supervisors about dialogue transitions. Rather than being a detached star, she saw film as a communal effort. Those who worked with her recall how she made even minor players feel central to the production. This supportive environment often led to more confident performances all around. Her compassionate nature didn't wane once the camera stopped rolling. Offset, Bergman participated in philanthropic endeavors, particularly those supporting refugees in Europe post-World War II. She donated both time and money, quietly arranging care packages and even traveling to war-torn areas to better understand the plight of displaced families. This wasn't a mere publicity gesture. She believed her fame was only worthwhile if used to improve lives. Lucille Ball was a comedic powerhouse who revolutionized television with I Love Lucy. But behind the giggles and legendary status stood a woman deeply committed to lifting others. Born in 1911 in Jamestown, New York, she faced initial rejections when she first pursued modeling and acting. Yet she refused to be disheartened, forging a path that would lead her to form Desilu Productions, a groundbreaking move in an industry dominated by men. While fans adored her razor-sharp humor and zany antics on camera, those who knew Ball personally describe an empathetic soul who recognized how challenging showbiz could be. Under her leadership at Desilu, she granted newcomers opportunities to develop pilots and try out innovative ideas. She famously championed Star Trek when networks doubted its viability, ultimately changing the landscape of science fiction television. This willingness to back fresh voices set her apart as a true industry trailblazer. Beyond the boardroom, Ball was known for her personal generosity. She might send flowers to co-stars going through a rough patch or discreetly fund medical treatments for crew members down on their luck. During World War II, she performed tirelessly at USO events, brightening the morale of troops far from home. Later in life, she lent her influence to various charitable causes, particularly those aiding children in impoverished areas. Shirley Temple charmed Depression-era audiences with her sunny disposition, uplifting films like Bright Eyes and Curly Top. Born in 1928 in Santa Monica, California, she became a superstar before she could even grasp the concept of celebrity. Despite, or perhaps because of, her child stardom, Temple stayed remarkably grounded. At a time when child actors often faced exploitation, she remained bright, polite, and conscientious on and off set. Directors marveled at her professionalism. She memorized lines quickly, hit her marks with precision, and rarely complained about long shooting hours. But her conduct toward the cast and crew impressed people most. Even as a little girl, she'd greet everyone warmly, from camera operators to makeup artists, often handing them homemade cookies or small tokens of thanks. This sincerity earned her a protective family-like atmosphere wherever she worked. As Temple transitioned into adolescence, she faced the tricky challenge of maintaining a film career while fostering a normal life. Eventually, she retired from acting to pursue public service. Under the name Shirley Temple Black, she served as a U.S. ambassador to Ghana and later to Czechoslovakia, garnering respect for her diplomatic skill and genuine care for the well-being of the people she served. She approached foreign relations with the same earnestness and empathy she'd shown as a child star. Rosalind Russell dazzled filmgoers with her quick wit in His Girl Friday and her flamboyant charm in Auntie Mame. Born in 1907 in Waterbury, Connecticut, Russell blended comedic timing with dramatic flair, earning her a distinctive place in Hollywood's golden era. Yet behind the confident characters lay a woman who valued compassion and discretion as much as she valued applause. Russell never indulged in the prima donna behaviors sometimes associated with stardom. On set, she forged genuine friendships with co-stars and quietly checked in on their well-being, especially if someone appeared stressed or overwhelmed. Rather than brushing aside concerns, she'd pull them aside for a heart-to-heart or organize small gatherings to let everyone relax away from the film's pressures. These small acts created a supportive environment that directors credited for smoother productions. Her benevolence extended into charitable spheres. Afflicted by rheumatoid arthritis later in life, Russell turned her personal struggle into activism. She became a vocal advocate for arthritis research and patient support, collaborating with foundations to raise funds and awareness. Despite her own physical discomfort, she volunteered at hospitals, encouraging patients not to lose hope. She once remarked that her own pain reminded her how crucial it is to stand up for those who may feel powerless. Dick Van Dyke, born in 1925 in West Plains, Missouri, represents an enduring spirit of warmth and humor in Hollywood. His star soared in the 1960s with The Dick Van Dyke Show, which redefined the sitcom format, and he won further acclaim playing the lovable chimney sweep Bert in Mary Poppins. But talk to those who've encountered him off stage, and they'll tell you Van Dyke's approachable nature is perhaps his most enchanting trait. On set, he brought a sense of playfulness that melted tension. Even during grueling rehearsal sessions or complex dance routines, Van Dyke cracked jokes, asked about coworkers' families, and instigated impromptu sing-alongs. This amiability wasn't about superficial popularity. Rather, he believed that a harmonious environment fueled better creativity. Cast members often spoke of feeling rejuvenated after a conversation with him, a testament to his infectious positivity. His kindness transcended professional circles. Van Dyke frequently visited children's hospitals, armed with silly skits and comedic songs to bring giggles to young patients. His philanthropic streak also extended to helping older adults. Alarmed by the isolation some seniors faced, he advocated for programs that combat loneliness in the elderly. Sometimes he even popped into nursing homes unannounced, entertaining residents with a quick dance or a memorable melody. Now that you've heard about these amazing stars, let us know in the comments which story moved you the most. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's kindest souls, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our latest content. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.